Okay, let me ask you a question to kick things off here. If I told you to list the single most important asset you possess, the one thing that uh, really determines your success more than anything else, what would you say?
Hmm. Well, I think for most people, the knee-jerk answer is money
Right.
or maybe talent.
Sure, money, talent, or maybe, your connections, your friends, if you're feeling a bit more sentimental.
Exactly. And we tend to assume that if you have the skills, if you put in the work, then the results just follow.
Right. But the source material we're diving into today suggests that's a very, let's say, naive way to look at how power actually works.
It is. These texts argue that your talent, your bank account, they're all secondary. The real driver, the thing that actually opens doors or slams them shut in your face, is your
This
reputation.
is the fifth law of power. And I have to say, reading through this stuff, it's a little bit terrifying. It frames reputation not as some, vanity metric.
Like how many followers you have?
Exactly. It's not that. It's a cornerstone of power. It's described as both a shield that protects you and a weapon that can destroy people without ever lifting a finger.
And that's the key distinction, isn't it? We think of reputation as passive. It's just what happens as a result of our actions.
Yeah, it just sort of accumulates.
But the historical analysis here, and it covers everything from ancient Chinese strategy to 19th century American showmen, it frames it as an active strategic tool. It's something you use.
And the core argument is, if you aren't managing it, someone else is.
Oh, absolutely. And they're probably not managing it in your favor. I mean, in a world of appearances, people judge you on what they see. They don't have time to get to know the real you.
They work off the summary, and that summary is your reputation.
Precisely.
So let's get into the mechanics. The sources break this down into like defense and offense.
Right.
How you use reputation to save your own skin and how you use it to crush a competitor.
And for the defensive side, we have to talk about the empty city strategy. It's an incredible story from the Three Kingdoms period in ancient China.
It really is. We're talking about a general named Chuko Liang.
And context here is everything. Zhuge Liang wasn't just some general. His nickname was the Sleeping Dragon.
Which is an amazing nickname, by the way.
It is. But his reputation was very specific. He wasn't known for being a gambler or for being reckless. He was known for being prudent, meticulous, careful. He was the guy who checked every detail twice.
Okay, so that's key. He's the careful guy. So here's the situation. He's in a small city. He's made a logistical error, sent his main army away, and he's basically left with a handful of old soldiers.
Just a skeleton crew.
And then the worst thing that could possibly happen happens. His arch rival, a general named Sima Yi, appears on the horizon with an army of 150,000 men.
It's not even a battle. It's a slaughter waiting to happen. Sima Yi just has to walk in.
Right, so you'd think Chico Liang would be panicking, but he doesn't. He orders his men to take down all the banners, hide, and then he throws the city gates wide open.
Just wide open.
And then, this is the part that feels like it's straight out of a movie, he puts on a Taoist robe, climbs to the top of the city wall, lights some incense, and just starts playing the lute.
I mean, just picture that visual. You're Sima Yi. You fought this guy for years. You know he's a genius, but you also know he's careful. You show up with this overwhelming force, and you see him just sitting there having a musical recital above open gates.
So Sima Yi stops his army. He just looks. And then he orders an immediate full retreat. He turns all 150,000 men around and just runs.
So let's pause and analyze that. Why? I mean, if it was anyone else on that wall, Sima Yi would have just marched in.
Oh, absolutely. If I was up there playing the lute, he would have just arrested me.
Exactly. It only worked because of the very specific reputation Zhuge Liang had spent a lifetime building. Sima Yi's brain starts doing the math,
Mm-hmm.
He's thinking, Zhuge Liang is the most prudent man alive. He never takes risks. Therefore, he would never sit there exposed unless...
Unless he's laid a trap so devastating that he's practically begging me to walk into it.
Precisely. The open gates didn't look like an opportunity. Because of the reputation, they looked like the mouth of a monster. His reputation filled in all the blanks. It fought the battle for him.
And the text even says that later he admitted to his aides he was totally helpless. He was just bluffing.
But by the time Sima Yi might have figured that out, he was long gone. And that's the lesson for you listening. Your reputation, it's a signal that arrives way before you do. If you're known for being honest, you can probably get away with a lie. If you're known for being cunning, like Zhuge Liang, even your moments of total weakness can look like some kind of 4D chess.
Sima Yi didn't see reality. He saw the reputation.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. It's like a force field. But okay, that's defense. That's reputation as a shield. Let's flip it. Let's go on the attack.
For this, we have to fast forward a few centuries to the 1800s. We're leaving ancient China for the chaotic world of P.T. Barnum,
The greatest showman.
and you could argue the greatest manipulator of public perception. The case study here is amazing. It's 1841. Barnum wants to buy the American Museum.
This is going to be his big thing, right? His flagship.
Right. But he's totally broke. He somehow gets a verbal agreement from the owners to sell it to him for $15,000. But then, of course, the sharks start circling.
Ah.
The directors of a rival group, Peale's Museum, much more established, much wealthier, they swoop in, they make a better offer, and the owners back out on Barnum.
Which is, I mean, that's just business. Money talks.
Usually, yeah. But Barnum has no money. He can't sue. So what does he do? He decides to just destroy their reputation. He uses the only weapon he has.
The newspapers. Which, back then, you have to remember, that was everything. It was the internet, TV, all of it.
Everything. So Barnum starts writing these anonymous letters and articles, but notice his strategy. He doesn't attack their wealth, he attacks their competence. He describes the owners of Peale's Museum not as savvy businessmen, but as a bunch of broken-down bank managers.
Broken down bank manager. That is such a specific, cutting insult.
It's genius. He planted what the text calls seeds of doubt. He basically told the public, these finance guys, they have no idea how to run a museum. They're going to make it boring, sterile, elitist. They're going to ruin this beloved public spot.
And the public completely bought it.
Oh, they ate it up. Public trust just evaporated. The actual stock of Peale's Museum started to drop because investors got nervous about this whole narrative.
And the beauty of it is that the directors of Peale's, they were trapped. They couldn't fight back.
Why not?
It's that old don't think of a pink elephant problem,
Yeah.
right? The moment they issue a statement saying, we are not boring bank managers, all anyone hears is boring bank managers.
Exactly. To deny the charge is to give it legitimacy. They were totally stuck. If they ignored it, the rumor grew. If they fought it, they looked defensive and guilty.
So they backed out.
The pressure got too high, they withdrew their offer, and Barnum swooped in and bought the museum for a steal. He beat capital with precision.
It's ruthless. But there's another story about Barnum in the notes that I think is even, well, funnier, but also darker. The hypnotism war.
Ah, yes. This is the perfect example of using mockery instead of anger.
So, years later, Barnum is a huge success. But a rival starts attacking him, saying his exhibits are all fake. Now, let's be honest, a lot of them were.
Oh, absolutely. But you can't let a rival say it out loud. Now, the natural reaction when someone insults you is to get angry. You want to argue, shout facts. But the law here says, never do that.
Because anger just shows you're insecure.
Right. It shows the attack landed. It shows you're taking them seriously. Barnum doesn't get mad. He organizes a public hypnotism contest. He invites the rival onto a stage to try and hypnotize a little girl.
So the rival comes up. He's doing his thing, waving his hands, looking all intense, and nothing. The girl is just standing there looking bored. The audience starts to giggle.
And then Barnum steps up. He announces in this big, booming voice that he will now hypnotize the girl. But he warns everyone his hypnotic power is so strong that if he puts her under, her finger might fall off.
Which is just completely absurd.
Of course it is, but the little girl hears this, gets totally terrified, and runs off the stage screaming, and the audience just erupts in laughter.
But they're laughing with Barnum. They're not laughing at the girl.
Exactly. That's the power of mockery. The text calls it a surgeon's knife that leaves a clean wound. By turning it all into a joke, Barnum made himself look like the superior entertainer. He made the rival look boring and incompetent. While Barnum was so powerful, he was actually dangerous. He never even broke a sweat.
He delegitimized the whole attack without ever looking like he was trying.
And that's the takeaway. If you're attacked, anger validates your attacker. Mockery dismisses them. It says, you are so far beneath me, this is just funny.
Okay, so we've seen reputation as a shield with Zhuge Liang and a weapon with Barnum. But there's a huge danger here, and the source material pivots to this really tragic story that shows just how fragile all of this is.
This is the story of Mitsu Xia and the peach. It comes from the court of the Wei Kingdom.
And this story really gets at that idea of the lens through which people see you.
Exactly. So Mitsu Xia is a young courtier, and he's the king's absolute favorite. His reputation is pristine. The king adores him.
He can basically do no wrong.
So one night, Mitsu gets a message. His mother is sick. Now, the law in this kingdom is incredibly strict. If you take the king's carriage without permission, the punishment is having your feet cut off.
Brutal. But Mealy is desperate, so he takes the carriage anyway.
And when the king finds out, does he punish him? No. Because the king is viewing me through this lens of a good reputation, he interprets the action positively. He says, look at his virtue. He loves his mother so much he risked his own feet to see her.
So the actually becomes a virtue.
Then there's the peach. They're walking in a garden. Me takes a bite of a peach, realizes how sweet it is, and gives the half-eaten part to the king to share.
Which, again, that's a huge breach of protocol. You don't give the king your leftovers.
But the king just says, look how much he loves me. He forgot his own hunger to share the best fruit with me.
Everything is seen through rose-colored glasses. But then things change. The text says enemies spread rumors. Me gets a little older. His looks fade. The reputation sours.
And this is the terrifying part. The king's opinion shifts. That lens cracks. And one day the king looks at me and suddenly remembers these past events. He says, that man once stole my carriage. He's a criminal. And then he adds, and remember when he insulted me by forcing me to eat his half-eaten peach?
Wow. It's the exact same actions.
The facts didn't change at all. The reputation changed. And because the reputation changed, the interpretation of the facts just flipped 180 degrees.
And me ended up getting punished for it, right?
Severely. The lesson there is so important. We like to think facts are solid, but facts are neutral. Your reputation provides the context. If your reputation is good, your mistakes look bold. If your reputation turns bad, your kindness looks like manipulation.
That's a nightmare. It means you can't just rely on doing good work. You have to manage the context in which that work is seen.
Context is everything. You lose control of the reputation, you lose control of your own reality.
So if it's this vital, how do we actually build it? The text seems to suggest you shouldn't try to be everything to everyone.
Right. The advice is to create a singular, consistent signal. Don't try to be the smart, funny, generous, and tough guy all at once. It's just noise. You want to be known for one solid thing.
And the sources give a few great examples of this.
Take someone like Rommel in World War II, the Desert Fox. His entire reputation was built on one word: cunning, and it became a psychological weapon. The British were terrified of him. Even when they had more tanks, more men, they'd hesitate, assuming Rommel had some kind of trick up his sleeve.
His reputation just froze them in place. Then there's Henry Kissinger.
Dealmaker, that was his brand. And it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because nations believed he was the only one who could broker a peace, they were more willing to actually negotiate with him.
His reputation did the hard work before he even got on the plane. And Casanova.
Seduction. Women were just curious. They wanted to know what all the fuss was about. By the time he walked into a room, half the work was already done for him.
So the strategy is pick a lane. Be the honest one or the creative one. Make that your flag.
Yeah.
But what if you're starting with a bad reputation?
The text calls the solution whitewashing. If your reputation is a bit shady, you associate yourself with someone or something with an impeccable one.
Barnum did this too.
He's the perfect example. He was rich, but he wasn't respected. He was the freak show guy, so he brought Jenny Lind, the most famous opera singer in Europe, to America. She was seen as a saint.
High culture.
Exactly. By promoting her, by standing next to her, some of her class rubbed off on him. He laundered his reputation through hers.
That's smart. But there's a big warning here. We talked about attacking reputations with mockery, but the sources give a really stark example of what happens when you attack too hard. This is the Edison versus Tesla feud.
A classic case of an attack backfiring. Edison felt threatened by Tesla's AC current, so he wanted to prove it was dangerous to protect his own DC business.
But instead of wit or mockery, he went for jest, brute force.
He did. He started staging these public demonstrations where he would electrocute animals with AC current. Cats, dogs. The text even says an elephant. It was just gruesome.
He thought he was proving a point about the technology.
He thought he was showing AC is dangerous. But what the public saw was a cruel, malicious man. By trying to paint Tesla as dangerous, Edison ended up painting himself as a villain.
So the sledgehammer just swung right back and hit him in the face.
Exactly. He probably damaged his own reputation more than Tesla's in the long run. The lesson is clear. Don't use a sledgehammer where a scalpel is needed. Barnum's humor was the scalpel. Clean. Edison's cruelty was the sledgehammer. It just makes a mess.
It's a fine line. You have to defend your reputation. But if you get down in the mud with your attacker, you just end up looking dirty.
Which brings us back to that central image in the text. I love this visual. It describes reputation as a mine full of diamonds and rubies.
The great image.
It says you have to dig for it. It takes work to build it. But once you have it, you have to guard it with your life. Because thieves, your rivals, they will come from every direction to try and steal it.
And unlike a real diamond, If your reputation gets a crack in it, you can't just polish it out.
No, it's almost impossible to fix completely. The crack remains. That's why the text emphasizes constant vigilance. You're never really done building your reputation.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one final thought here.
Mhm.
It addresses the person listening who thinks, this sounds exhausting. Can I just opt out? Can't I just not care what people think?
It's a tempting idea, right? I'll just be myself. But the text argues pretty bluntly, no, you can't opt out. Even the act of claiming I don't care what people think is itself a type of reputation.
Like Oscar Wilde.
Exactly. His whole brand was built on not caring about society's rules. But that was his reputation. That was his power. You live in a social world, people are going to judge you. The only choice you have is whether you guide that judgment or you just let it happen to you.
So you're in the game whether you like it or not.
You are. And if you choose to ignore it, you're just playing the game badly.
Well, on that note, let's leave our listener with something to chew on. Here's your takeaway for the week. Just ask yourself, what signal is my reputation sending right now? When you leave a room or when your name comes up, what's the adjective people attach to you?
Is it reliable? Is it brilliant? Is it difficult? Or is it, scatterbrained?
And most importantly, is it the one you intended? Because if you don't know the answer to that, it means someone else is writing your story for you.
And that is a very dangerous place to be.
That's it for this deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.